Hello and welcome to another episode of Walking with Wolfedge. We're here at the IFA, the International Franchise Association's annual convention in Las Vegas. The Vegas series, here we go.
Go, go, here we go. Go, go, now here we go. Now, go, go, here we go.
You ain't never ever seen nothing like this.
Go, go, here we go. Go, go, now here we go. Now, go, go, here we go.
You ain't never ever seen nothing like this.
Never have you ever seen something like me.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Walking with Wolfedge. Today I'm super excited to say that I've got Aaron Harper, the CEO and founder of Rolling Suds. 0 to 255 units in 2 years.
In 2 years, yeah.
Oh my God. Welcome to the show, Aaron.
Thank you very much.
I think, we've spoken in passing and in bars, but
Yeah.
I've been very excited about this today. So,
Yeah, me too. I've been looking forward to it.
So tell me a little bit about yourself first, because
Sure.
you've got some really interesting experience and you've worked with some enterprise level businesses and Frandev.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, just 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Your history.
So I worked in film and television for about 5 years. Realized I didn't want to do that after I worked for bosses that I didn't like or want anything that they had. Got a B2B sales job. Did that for a couple of years. And then reached out to a buddy of mine, and he told me about franchising and said I should get into franchise development. I said, "What's franchise development?" I thought it was McDonald's. I'm like, I don't want to develop fast food restaurants. And he told me about it, and I didn't know that 1-800-GOT-JUNK was a franchise. I didn't know that ChemDry was a franchise. I didn't know that franchisees were independent business owners that owned their own business. And I loved the idea of helping people become business owners. So I worked at Belfour Franchise Group for a few years, helped them grow from 3 brands to 12, all in residential and commercial services. They offered me a killer job to launch their 13th brand, where I would, make close to $1 million on target earnings. And I, like the lunatic entrepreneur I am, said, no, thank you. I said, no, thank you. I'm going to go find a business on my own. Looked at 24 different concepts that I could turn into a franchise and met the founders of Rolling Suds in September of 2022. Finalized the transaction to acquire the brand in January of 23. And we had 1 corporate-owned unit, and now we have 255 franchise locations, franchise territories.
So talk me through that. So how has that happened? I mean, 2 years.
Yeah.
First of all, how tired must you be?
Well, I gotta say, I have an incredible team.
Yeah.
If I didn't have the team that I have, it would be very hard to do what we're doing. And I was just sharing this with you before we went live, but in order to actually grow a franchisor from 1 corporate-owned unit to 300 plus in a 3-year timeline, what you truly need is you need people and leaders who have done this before, running their different divisions, and you have to pre-invest significantly in growth in a way that probably most franchisors either A, can't because they don't have the money, or B, even if they did have the money, they might be unwilling to because it's like a significant amount of reinvestment. And we've been fortunate to have some of the most influential people in the franchise industry come be part of Rolling Suds and help grow us. So that's really, in my mind, one of the biggest learnings I've learned in the last year is hire great leaders, let them lead, and get out of the way.
Nice. I have so many questions.
Yeah.
Right. So I suppose that there's kind of compartmentalizing this. We've got the finance part of running a franchising business, starting a business that is ready for scale. Now, the emerging convention a few years ago, the number of $1 million was there to say, look, this is what you need in cash, liquid, to grow a successful franchising business.
Yep.
Would you say that's about right? Or?
Yeah, so are you talking about the one I spoke at the emerging
Yeah.
Yeah, so I gave that presentation because I was like, okay, if you're going to franchise your business, this is exactly how much capital you're going to need. And it scared a lot of people because they're like, wait, I have 60 grand. I thought I could franchise. And the reality of it is you need a lot of money. So you need at least $500,000 to $1 million in cash. If you're going to grow the franchise faster than that, you're going to need all of that and everything that you get from franchise fees to invest back in. Now, if franchisors are outsourcing their franchise sales to an outside company, they're going to need double, at least, because the money that they get, they're going to be paying out a lot of it to source franchisees. So those were the numbers that I gave. That $1 million range was the number I gave if you're keeping the majority of the franchise fee, which we are. So it's $1 million to $2 million.
Which is a phenomenal amount of money, really. But actually, you're so right. To do it right, you need the capital, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're starting a business that starts businesses. That's what a franchisor is. It's helping people become business owners. And a startup just alone is risky, like just any startup. And now you've got a startup that helps people start up, right? So like the amount of capital necessary to invest in marketing, invest in people, invest in training, invest in processes, and then finding franchisees, like there's just a lot that has to happen for this to go right.
Which is super interesting. And actually, Keith was on the show earlier, and he was talking about how maybe 20% of all franchisors, grow past 100 units in the US.
It's less than that.
Really?
Yeah, it's like 15-ish%.
Wow.
So there's about 3,500 franchisors. 680 of them have over 100 territories.
Okay.
And out of those 680, only 90 of them made it to 100 units in under 10 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is brutal. So congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, okay, you've got the people, you've got the cash.
Yep.
And then what? What's next? So we'll get on to how the hell did you acquire this phenomenal talent? Because I've heard some of the stories. So so I want to know how.
Yeah.
But so we've got people and we've got cap, and then you've got the Fran Dev bit itself. So you're doing it in-house.
Yep, we do it all in-house.
And so how does that look?
Yeah, so
because presumably that's a really important part of this whole jigsaw puzzle, right?
Right. So if franchisees give you $55,000 for a territory, I would expect that the franchisees should think that $55,000 is going towards investing back into the business.
Yeah.
Now, there are going to be acquisition costs for any franchisor. Acquiring a franchisee or finding a franchisee, that's going to be expensive. However, you need, I think, find a way to either have a tranche of capital that you invest in if you're paying a lot of that out to a franchise sales organization, or in our case, really truly invest that and more back into the franchisor. And so last year, I built a C-suite.
Okay.
So we have a brand president. We have a chief development officer. We have a chief marketing officer. We have a chief financial officer. We have a VP of franchisee success. We have a director of franchise sales marketing. We have a full-blown executive team that a very mature franchisor would have.
Yeah.
And we did that to prepare for another 200-ish units this year, because franchising is all about systems, but you have to pre-invest in the growth in order to make sure that you can actually support the franchisees that sign up. And so it's one thing to sell franchises, it's a completely different thing to actually get them open and help them become profitable.
And so, I think that is so true, but where does that thinking come from? So you've not been a franchisor before. So where has that come from? Because actually to get a whole C-suite now at this stage, or before this stage, in fact, that is some serious foresight.
Yeah, so I think it comes down to risk tolerance, candidly. You have to be able to say, I know where we're going, and this is the team that we have to build now to get there. So a pretty significant amount of risk tolerance necessary. I have been on the franchisor side, so I've been fortunate to learn a lot about what to do, what not to do, what it actually truly takes. to make it work. And then I put a lot of content out online.
Yeah, I see that. I enjoy that, in fact.
Thank you. So that has allowed us to not only attract some really great franchisees, a good portion of our franchisees come from the content I put out online.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Like on Instagram and stuff, or
All
LinkedIn?
So we put 15 pieces of content out per day across all
Whoa.
platforms,
Okay.
roughly. So,
Gosh. So that is what? Instagram,
LinkedIn, TikTok, Threads, X,
You do YouTube?
Facebook, YouTube.
Wow. And these are 15 different pieces of content everywhere.
No, they're repurposed,
Okay.
but like we put out 2 written pieces at least per day. Sometimes it's 3 or 4. We put out 2 videos per day on all channels. We put out shorts on YouTube. We're about to start releasing longs. So we're about to put out a 16-minute piece. So we put out a lot of content online. That has really established a lot of like recognition, and there's just not a lot of people doing that in the franchise industry. So as a result, we've been able to attract like really great suppliers for our franchise owners. We've been able to source just really qualified leaders to help because they want to be part of it. It's we're everywhere. You know, like we're everywhere.
And do you think that's kind of helped with that talent acquisition?
100%.
Wow. Okay. So before we get into the talent, so digging more into the Fran Dev, if I may.
Yeah, sure, please.
So you've got, you must be going through thousands of applicants. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I think in the UK, I think talking to franchisors, we're talking about 80 to 1, 60 to 1, you know, sort of leads to a deal, because obviously, and this is from like portal sites and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we're probably about that, maybe slightly under, but around that. So what do you find that number to be in the US, and how different is that coming in through your own channels? Because surely that must be, you know, a much higher conversion ratio, right?
Yeah. So the people who come in through organic content are typically more qualified, and they convert at a higher percentage. So we don't deal with a significant amount of volume, because a lot of the content I create self-selects the right buyers.
The algorithm and all that. Yeah,
just in general, like I'm very clear about what we're looking for and what we're not looking for in an owner. And anyone who's in the process typically is following me as well. Or was following me before, or then begins following me online. So like a lot of the kind of process of like sifting through portals, like we don't use portals, we don't use pay-per-click advertising, we don't use any of that stuff, because we're actually more effective at targeting our kind of ideal franchisee profile just via my own social and what I write online.
Nice.
We work with some incredible franchise brokers as well, across just a handful of networks who help us find the majority of our franchisees. And they know also exactly what we're looking for, because they follow me online, and we find so the
you become very human, right?
Yes, and the content piece just is truly a compounding asset in so many ways.
Well, I feel like I know you more than I really truly know you, right? Because I watch your stuff, and it pops up, and because I spend more time looking at it.
Right.
It pops up more often, right? So I'm like, hey, I want to buy a Rolling Suds franchise. Where do I sign, right? You know, it's the only jet wash company.
The only car wash, power washing company. Yeah.
So what is it that you're looking for? Before we get into talent, you know, what is it that you're actually looking for in a franchisee?
So we're looking for people who want to build like a sizable business. So meaning like people who do not want to come in and like own a job. We do expect full-time effort on the business.
Mm-hmm.
However, they're going to come in with significantly more capital than most, I would say, home service franchisors require. You know, in the kind of 300,000 range.
Okay.
They're going to be hiring at least 2 people prior to going to training. Some will hire 3 or 4. and then we're turning commercial leads on for them because we generate commercial leads for our franchisees via our vendor partners. We're turning those on about 5 weeks prior to going to training. So if they're working a job in corporate America, we require that they leave that full time 4 weeks before they go to training to do to do business development and book jobs before they go to training.
Wow. Yeah, and then they're like super motivated. They've got leads
Yeah.
that they've converted.
Right.
And it makes training really interactive because
Right.
they're doing it for a reason.
Well, also they're hiring a general manager in training, which is going to be kind of that lead technician that's going to run the truck, and they're hiring a junior technician before going to training. So those people that they're hiring are expecting full-time work upon leaving training. So we're really bringing in franchisees that have like a generally higher risk tolerance to join a brand at kind of the age and the life cycle of Rolling Suds. Like, we're just going to now have franchisee data in our FDD for the first time. So every unit that we've sold has been based upon our founding location's economics. So, you figure like, someone's like, hey, what can I do year one? We're like, that's going to be dependent upon you. Like, you have to run with us on this. So the types of franchisees we brought in have a higher net worth. They want to build a bigger business. They have a higher risk tolerance, less certainty around what we're doing just due to the nature of like this life cycle of our brand. And they're ready to, have that second truck added within the first year.
Amazing. That is phenomenal. And so getting into that talent acquisition piece, so you have got some like serious people working with you on your board, right? I mean, do you mind sort of just going through that? And also, how the hell did that even happen? I mean, you've got guys that have left 30-year jobs to come and work for you, right? I mean, that is phenomenal. Actually, it's the dream that doesn't tend to happen very often. So please talk me through that.
Yeah. So before we launched Rolling Suds, we grew another franchise system. I grew another franchise system by 223 units in 24 months in the drywall repair space. And, very rarely does, as I mentioned earlier with the numbers, like very rarely does that happen to where a brand can grow 100 units a year and get all the units open. And so in doing that, I was going and being asked to be part of a bunch of different conferences. I spoke at the Emerging Franchisor Conference and keynoted that event. And I've been on panels, and I've led roundtables, and I've been a mentor, and I've been involved with the IFA. So I'm very involved in the community.
You're a known personality, and
I mean, and it's important to me, the franchise community. And so, anyways, before we launched Rolling Suds, I had people like David Barr, Brad Fishman, some of arguably the most respected people in the franchise industry come up to me and be like, Aaron, I'll invest in you. Like, whatever brand you want to go for, like, I'm in, basically. Like, as an individual, independent investor. So when I evaluated 24 different businesses, like, I knew that I had the backing there. So having the board that we have, and then through the content that we put out and the activity that I have within the franchise industry, we've been able to develop great relationships with people like Madeline Zook, who's our Chief Marketing Officer, JT Thiessen, who's our Chief Development Officer, who came from Home Franchise Concepts.
And had been there for 30 years.
Managing, 13 brands, a team of 18 people. But like, what I'm doing is empowering, giving them kind of the runway to grow as individuals. And build something that they believe in and are willing to kind of get behind and put their name behind, right? And so I think part of business in general is just creating opportunities for other people and making sure that the opportunity that they take on is A, worth their time because it's incredibly valuable,
Yeah.
but B, is going to help them grow independently as professionals. And I'm confident that that's what we've been able to do with some of these kind of really well-known names in
That's
the industry.
really just wonderful. And I think, you know, really what I've kind of gleaned from that is being an active personality within the sector has really helped you in the first instance, just to kind of have your name known, to make yourself a sort of key person of influence there, really, to say, well, actually, I want to put my money in this guy, and it's you know, literally putting my money where my mouth is, right? And it's which is really interesting. So, and so, if you were advising a franchisor on growth, so you know they've got capital and all of that kind of stuff, and all of the stuff is there. Should we go around that way? So all the stuff is there, but you know, what would you say to a franchisor to say, look, you know, you're going from 0 to 100 or 50 to 100, whatever it is. I mean, what should a franchisor do if you were going back and advising? Yeah. So I would say 99.5% of franchisors should not go from 0 to 100 in the time in which we've done it. Yeah. And the reason for that is most franchisors that become franchisors don't have any experience in franchising. Yeah. They have a great epoxy coatings business, but they've never franchised, right? And franchising, or the franchise business, is a completely different business than whatever it is, the kind of widget that they've done, whether it's epoxy coatings or youth enrichment or. So if someone did want to go from 0 to 100, I would say that they need to find people that have done this before, give them whatever incentive package necessary to have those people make their brand their everything, and want to work day in and day out on it. And I would have like way more money than you think you need. And over what time frame is that a sensible journey, do you think? It largely depends on the model, right? Like the longer it takes to help franchisees get open and cash flow positive, largely depends upon the amount of that factors into how much money you need. The longer it takes, the more money you need. Because you have to be able to support, from an infrastructure standpoint, the franchisees during that entire time, and until they get to kind of a meaningful amount of royalties. So let's say it takes 18 months to get someone open. Let's say it's a brick and mortar concept. They're going to need literal millions and millions of dollars. And the more units they sell, the more money they're going to need. And so what franchisors are trying to do is get to a point where they have what's called royalty self-sufficiency, where the royalties from the business pay for the infrastructure of the business. Very few brands get there. And so, and as a percentage, what do you think? I mean, you need at least 100 units to get there. Like open units, at least. And the amount of money that you're going to need to spend on an annual basis to get to 100 open units is well over whatever royalties you're going to generate getting there. So franchisors, just by definition of how the model works, are going to burn cash for quite some time, with the hope that one day the franchisees are going to build big enough businesses to where it covers the cost and then some of the franchisor. So, you know, what I would say to anyone who wants to franchise their business is probably open corporate units first. It'll de-risk the investment for them, because they're going to invest all their time and a significant amount of money into franchising. And if they have more corporate-owned units that are producing cash flow, then it de-risks the franchise side and allows them to make better decisions. I would tell them to set aside at least $1 million. I would tell them to find a operations person at the very beginning who's $120,000 to $180,000 a year person,
give them some type of equity or upside or profits interest or some type of thing to drive that. And then figure out what the franchise development strategy is. It made sense for us to do it in-house. It doesn't make sense for everyone because they can't close deals or they can't find franchisees or they can't get the attention of brokers. However, if they do go somewhere else to find franchisees, meaning like an outsourced company, they're going to need double, if not more, the amount of money than they think they will. And I think that if more franchisors knew they were going to spend $1 million to $2 million to maybe get to royalty self-sufficiency, and that means burning all profits and then some for 2 to 5 years, probably 90% of franchisors who franchise their business wouldn't franchise their business, which is great, which would be great for franchising, candidly. So
it's so true, actually, yes.
What I try to do is create content to let people know, hey, this is like actually what you have to do, or this is what we're doing, rather. Like this is, you don't have to do this, but this is what we're doing, and this is how it's working, and here's the risks associated with it. And then people, if they follow me, can say, oh, I want to do that, and I'm going to go raise a lot of money, or oh, I don't want to do that because it's going to take away from my great youth enrichment business that I love, and so I'm not going to do that. So hopefully that answers your question.
No, that's really wonderful. And I usually end these podcasts with a question, which is, if you're advising somebody on how to get to that first million, so whether that's a franchisee, a franchisor, or a non-franchising person, what is it? What would be that one piece of advice you give someone on this is what I would do if I was in your shoes? Yeah, I mean, perfection is the enemy of growth. If I waited until everything was perfect to become a business owner, I would have never become a business owner. And then I would say that to get to $1 million, I think 9% of all business owners make it to $1 million in revenue. You haven't made it when you made it to $1 million. In fact, now you have to take all of the profits from your $1 million and you have to invest that and more to get to $3 million. And then from getting $3 million in revenue to getting to 10 plus, you're gonna have to invest even more than you need from an infrastructure standpoint in the team to get that business to, and so business ownership is a grind. It's gonna test everything, literally everything that you think you know about the world will be tested as a business owner. And you just have to know what you're getting yourself into. And if you know that and you're going into it and you're willing to do whatever it takes, then I think you have a chance. Because it's so true. I think it does literally test everything. You're a young father like myself. You've got 2, right?
Yeah, 2.
So we've just had our 3rd. So our children are about the same. Thank you. About the same sort of age. But even that, you have to really focus on family time and the work effort. But I love that. Thank you so much. And I really just love your journey. I love the content and everything that you're putting out. I think it's just super interesting.
Thank you.
So I appreciate it. And until next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. This has been great.
Thank you. And thank you for joining in and tuning into another episode of Walking with Wolfinch, the Vegas series.